I'm going to go ahead and make a bold statement and say that multifamily real estate is far superior than single-family home investing. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by walking you through the real estate matrix and comparing single-family and multifamily. So make sure you hit the subscribe button right now so you don't miss more videos about building wealth through multifamily real estate. I'm Seth Ferguson. Let's get right into it and talk about multifamily versus single-family.
Perfect.
If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know about the real estate matrix. But if you're brand new, welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I have something I call the real estate matrix, and it's the 4 components that every single real estate deal in the history of mankind has had. Without one of these components, a deal doesn't happen. So let's go through the real estate matrix. We have, number 1, we have the deal. Then we have capital, the money, the equity needed. Then we have financing, and then we have management. Without one of these 4 components, a deal does not happen. So these are the 4 pillars of real estate investing. So what I want to do is actually go through the real estate matrix and talk about single family and multifamily with these 4 components and really highlight the differences based on my own experiences and the experiences of other people. So first of all, let's talk about capital. Capital makes the real estate world go round. Without capital, nothing really happens. So with single family home investing, a lot of people are using their own capital. And that was how I first started too. I was under the impression that it was better to do everything on your own. So it's better to have ownership of your own property, not have partners, and just do everything under your own roof or roof, depending on which side of the country you want. But there are challenges and limitations to this because scalability comes into play. And with my single family home investing, I felt like literally I was banging my head against a wall and not getting anywhere because it was like every time I tried to acquire another property, there's all these reasons why it couldn't happen, and we'll get into that when we get into financing. With single family home investing, when you're structuring with other partners, if you run out of capital, you can form joint ventures and do those together. And I'll put a link right up here to a video I did explaining all about joint ventures. But there are some issues with joint ventures, or called JVs. JVs mean that everybody involved in the deal is active, 100% active. And that means if something goes wrong, everybody is equally on the hook for what went wrong and for the creditors to recoup their losses. So let's say, for instance, the deal goes belly up and now you're $1 million in the hole. The lender can come after one person in the joint venture. Let's say it's a 2-person one. One person, if they declare bankruptcy, if they got nothing else, they'll come after the next person for the $1 million. You have unlimited risk. Your risk exposure is completely unlimited. So when we're raising capital, generally speaking, you'll find JVs the most common. But when we get into multifamily, we are able to take advantage of more sophisticated structuring because of the scale of multifamily, the cash flow, and a whole bunch of other things, and the way we manage the property. So what we have is we can take advantage of syndication and the real estate fund model as well. So I'll just put funds. And I'll put a link up here to those videos talking about syndications versus funds and the differences between them. Right now, we're just kind of staying bird's eye view. So with syndications and funds, this is something that Wall Street has perfected. Wall Street does one thing extremely well, and that is raise a whole bunch of money very efficiently. So if you are an active real estate investor and you're looking to raise large amounts of capital and place it into one of your deals, with multifamily, you're able to syndicate the deal or launch your fund or subsequent funds and deploy that capital in probably what I would say is the most efficient and effective manner. I'm not saying you can't do a joint venture, a partnership type of structure with multifamily, and I know people who will take down these large multifamily properties with 4 people and everybody's happy. But the big difference between JVs, partnerships, and syndication and funds is risk and exposure. With the syndication and with the fund, the passive investors, the capital partners, the people investing their money passively into the deal, they're afforded protections under the law. So up here with single family JVs, your risk exposure unlimited, no matter what you're doing. With syndications and funds with multifamily, well, the passive investors are limited in their risk exposure, which means that their risk is limited. It's not unlimited. The person actually running the deal has unlimited risk. which is just part and parcel of being a general partner or a sponsor. So huge benefits here. Plus, because of all the features that multifamily provides, the cash flow, the tax benefits, the appreciation, the upside, there is a lot of capital looking for a home in multifamily deals versus single family. Now let's move over to financing. And financing was an extreme challenge when I was investing in single family homes. The reason is the lender looks at you first, you the borrower first. So your income, your assets have to support the debt you want to place on a new property that you are acquiring. This can be very challenging. I was making what most people would consider really good money at the time doing real estate brokerage, selling as a real estate broker. And it was so tough to get new debt, a new mortgage for a subsequent property because you no longer fit inside the lender's tiny little box once you have a handful of properties. And one of the big advantages I mentioned with multifamily is strong cash flow because we have more units. With single family homes, especially with my portfolio, and if you're investing in hot markets, you are most likely equity rich, cash flow poor, because if you only have like one unit for a single family home, or if you have a duplex or a triplex, cash flow is very, 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 very tight. So you're really banking your business plan on future appreciation, which I would say is more speculative than on the investing side. And getting back to financing with single family homes, the lenders look at you, the borrower, first, and they are coming after you, like I said, with your risk exposure if something goes wrong, if you default on the loan. They're going to take your assets, they're going to take everything you have, so they can make themselves whole again. Now with multifamily, it shifts to the other way around. So it doesn't matter how much cash flow the property is producing with single family home investing, the lender cares about you. But with multifamily, the lender first looks at the property. Can the property itself support the debt that you want the lender to allow you to place on it? Because really, when we're talking about larger multifamily buildings, we're really buying a business that just happens to be tied to real estate. So can the business of the multifamily building support the debt? Sure, the lender cares about you and your business plan and your team, but they're looking at the property first. Plus, we have recourse and non-recourse. And I'll put a link right up here to a video I did explaining all about recourse debt and non-recourse debt. But non-recourse debt in the nutshell means that the lender can take the property from you if something goes wrong, but they cannot come after your personal assets. As a real estate investor, this is huge. And as a former single family home real estate investor, I can tell you that when things go wrong, it's like, oh boy, here we go. It can make you a little nervous. So we've got two down. We've covered capital, we've covered financing. Now let's talk about management. Managing your portfolio can be challenging sometimes. So let's start with single family homes. To have a property manager manage your portfolio, they are going to be looking for between 10 and 12% of your gross rents on average. This is pretty expensive. And with single family home management, maybe they're visiting the property once a month, maybe once every 2 months, maybe once every 3 months. Somebody's not on site all the time. And as I learned from very personal experience, the tenants don't really do a good job of letting you know what's going on with the property. So you find out about issues that would have been a whole lot cheaper 2 months ago, and now they're a more expensive issue because they just didn't let anybody know. Plus, as you scale, you may be investing in different markets. Maybe you have 10 different properties, single family home properties spread out all over the place. You've got 10 different roofs to deal with. You've got 10 different property tax bills, 10 different tenants, and things get a little bit unwieldy. Now, with multifamily, it's a little bit different. Depending on the size of your multifamily property, you can have on-site management. So that means you have somebody on-site every single day. You can have on-site maintenance staff every single day. You can have an on-site leasing agent. So you have people every single day interacting with the tenants, building the relationship with the tenant, and they are able to nip any issue in the bud right off the bat. So I would argue that with full-time management, full-time staff there every single day, the tenants are going to get a better experience. Your residents are going to get a better experience. Your customer at the end of the day is getting a better experience because you have on-site staff, and plus your property is going to run a whole lot more efficiently. And same thing with the leasing office. If you have a full-time leasing agent, they know the property like the back of their hand. They know exactly the target demographic that is most likely coming through. They know how to sell to them what they're looking for, their wants and needs, rather than somebody who's renting out a whole bunch of different properties all at the same time. Plus, when we get into these larger properties, the property supports the full-time staff, so their salary is covered by the additional cash flow the property produces because of the scale of the property. Single-family home investing, like I remember when I worked out when my son was born, how many houses I would have to own to hit my real estate goal, and I came out to 1,000 houses. There was no way I would be investing or owning 1,000 houses. That just is pure craziness, but 1,000 units, 10,000 units, that's definitely scalable on the multifamily side because of the way we can raise capital, because of the way we can finance it, and also the way it is managed. And then we have the deal itself. And I kind of teased this as we went through, but there are three main reasons why I feel multifamily is superior to single family home investing. So number one is cash flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of real estate. Without cash flow, nothing happens. I learned it the hard way. Equity rich, cash flow poor, and at that point, it's so hard to scale up. And then, let's say something happens with the property, like it did, $8,000 to replace the drain out to the sewer. There goes 3 years of cash flow out the window, and you're at a loss. You're basically feeding into your portfolio at that point. With multifamily, we have the economies of scale working in our favor, and cash flow is a lot stronger with multifamily. So that's number one. Number two are the tax benefits. When we get into apartments and multifamily, we can take advantage of depreciation and make it work in our favor even more. The government actually gives us tax credits for owning real estate. And I'll put a link right up here to a video I did explaining all about cost segregation and how we can make depreciation, how we can put it on steroids and really front load it to save a whole lot of tax. So that's really, really cool. And that's why a lot of passive investors like investing in these larger multifamily syndications and funds because of the tax benefits, not just the cash flow, but also the tax benefits because you can use it as a tax mitigation strategy. And number three, we have appreciation. With appreciation on the multifamily side, and I've done a whole bunch of videos on this, so I'll put one up to the income approach and how multifamily real estate is valued. We have a lot more control over how our deal, our property is valued because it's based on the NOI, the net operating income the property produces, as opposed to the single family home where we have to wait on all the neighbors because that property is based on what's called the comparable approach. That's how it's valued. So if 3 houses on the street and they're all similar, sell for 500, well, guess what? Your house is worth 500, no matter what else you do to it. But with multifamily, everything is based on the income the property produces. So that puts the control back in our hands as the owner, as the investor, so we can do things to really drive that NOI using what's called the value add strategy, doing physical improvements and also optimizing the operations of the property. So there you have it. We've gone full cycle around the real estate matrix, talking about how single family homes are different than multifamily properties and how multifamily has a whole lot more advantages compared with single family homes. I started off in single family investing, a lot of people do, but I'm trying to spread the word and let people know that multifamily is a great way to even start building your real estate portfolio. And we have the Multifamily Conference coming up May 14th and 15th. We've got Kevin O'Leary, Joe Fairless, who's almost at $2 billion in assets under management, Pierre Paul Turgeon, Joel Block. Every single aspect of the multifamily business is covered at this live in-person conference. I've personally handpicked every single speaker, and I guarantee you're going to love it or you don't pay. So head over to multifamilyconference.ca and I hope to see you in May at the conference. And if you're interested in learning more about investing in multifamily, join my free Facebook group right down below. Leave a comment, like this video. It really helps out the channel. And until next time, happy investing.